it's all about the person behind that farming business. And biggest thing I found is these farmers aren't attaching themselves to their outcomes of their farm.
What are the top 5% of farmers doing that the average farmer is not? It's not every day I get to interview an author and a farmer, but we're delighted to have Jack Owen on the podcast today talking about his new book, You Are Not Your Farm. Just going off that heading is going to be pretty intriguing to see what happened in the beginning, to see why you even wanted to write this book and why it's for you, the farmers out there, to get you humming along, improve your daily routines, and have a better outlook and a holiday at the end of it. That's our goal. Let's get into this podcast. Jack Owen, welcome to the Farmers Advice podcast. Good to have you in here. As we chatted a little bit before, it's getting a bit chilly, so it's the perfect time to read a book, some may say.
Yeah, exactly right, Jack. Yeah, great time to start reading books, that's for sure.
Now, but welcome to the podcast. I'd imagine, I don't know, how's it feel to sort of be an author? For those that don't know, actually, our conversation was getting Jack Owen on here, Jack, because of his book that he's released. But yeah, how's it feel to be an author?
Yeah, it feels exactly the same as pre-author, that's for sure. Not much has changed. It's exciting. There's a lot to learn from it. Yeah, a lot of things that I didn't think about that have come up since. But other than that, it's really, really interesting, and it's good to embrace the unknown of it all, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a bit of a split in between how you actually came about reading the book, the process of it, but also the book's content, which is superb. We'll dive into it, but let me know, like, how'd you get into Australian agriculture and how'd you wind up writing the book? I suppose your journey to get where you are now, how did that all evolve?
Yeah, so I grew up on the family farm, and left the farm to pursue other things, and then came back end of 2017. Yep.
Is the family farm the current one, or you've moved on?
Yep. No, the current one. Yep. So I left that to pursue other things, and came back in at the end of 2017, mid 2017. By the end of 2019, I looked back across the last 2 years of what I had done, and I was really in a rut, unhappy. Didn't think I had anything to show for it, to be honest. I was quite. It's not what I thought farming was. Growing up on the farm, it was so fun and free, like that feeling of freedom. But then when you get skin in the game, it's a different story. And I couldn't understand what I was doing wrong or what I was missing. So I decided to ask just this one guy in particular.
Yep.
I showed him my results, and he showed me his results, and he said, "Why are you unhappy? They're pretty good for the cards you had been dealt for the season." And that wasn't the answer that I wanted. So I kept on searching a bit more, and I thought, the answers I'd get would be around, business model, cost of production, operational sort of systems and structures, which I did get those answers. But then I started getting these weird answers, like the uncommon answers, talking about values and vulnerability and gratitude and these weird things. And at first I wasn't interested in that. And then it was starting to get really common with these farmers I was talking to, that I had to sort of know a little bit more about it. So I started digging a bit deeper and asking them about it. And I'd ask one and ask where they learnt that from. And so I'd track that person down, and it was like this path I was going down that I had no idea, but all of a sudden I was really interested in it. So every time I learned something, I'd implement it in my own life and business. And then I was looking through my notes one day, and I started finding all these common themes, which is pretty much the chapters in the book. And I started writing about it just as articles. I thought I might just write this and give it to someone. They can publish it as an article somewhere or something like that. And
end up publishing them as an article?
Nah, never. And then I was writing a few one day, and I thought, oh, well, I may as well put this in a book. If it's helped me, it has the potential to help other people. And that's how the book come across. To be really, it was as simple as that. It was never an intention to write a book. It was all selfish, and all I wanted to do was be successful on the farm, being given an opportunity to come on the farm. You feel those pressures, and you don't want to let anyone down, so you do whatever it takes to be that sort of success. And that was the journey of the book, really. It was all selfish at the start, and now it's turned into something that has the potential to help a lot of farmers, I believe.
It's pretty well the same as what I thought with the podcast as well, and all the questions that I had. Like, I think in the initial stages, you need to be selfish. I tell all the farmers to be selfish with like their learning, to take some time away or whatever. What was the first sort of value that you implemented into your like own operation, your mindset or whatever? The fluffy stuff, a few in the industry might call it.
Oh yeah, and don't get me wrong, I was calling it fluffy stuff at the start. Yeah. Like, I had no idea that is this the right thing to do or not. But the first thing I learned was all about setting up your morning. So just a bit of a morning routine. That was the biggest thing that sort of got the ball rolling. A lot of the farmers I was talking to didn't just roll out of bed and get dressed on the way out to the door and get straight into work. They sort of had a bit of a structure in place to get their minds and their body in the right place to go out and do a day's work.
So what changed for you from your initial thing? Probably get out of it, like working outside of ag, probably changed a bit of what you did, and then coming back into ag and setting up your mornings. What did you do, and what do you do now?
Well, at the start, I took it very literally. So I read a book called The 5 a.m. Club, and that works off 20 minutes, 3 20-minute intervals of sweating, meditating, and then learning, or mindfulness, then learning.
And just lost you there.
Being as naive as I was, I thought, well, if I doubled it, my success would be twice as quick. So I thought, well, I'll do a 2-hour one. I'll do 40 minutes of each, and I'll be successful twice as quick. But it doesn't work like that. And trust me, don't do that. That's the quickest way to lead to burnout. Did that for about 18 months. So that was the first thing I implemented. Taught me a lot of discipline, a lot of self-discipline, which is really good. Waking up when you don't want to get out of bed, when it's raining outside or whatnot. But yeah, that was the first thing I implemented. And today, now, it's definitely not like that. I just ask myself a simple question. I've got a motto. It says, enjoy the morning. It's just an hour to myself, and I ask myself the question as soon as I get out of bed, what do I need right now? Yeah. Am I tired? We'll go for a walk. Am I full of energy? Let's do a run. Am I too much in my comfort zone? I need to go do an ice bath. Things like that.
Yeah, I think when I miss the things, like I try read in the morning, if I miss that or something, I just end up being cranky or something throughout the day, or like I didn't get that in, so it's annoying me. Whatever. And if I am rushing, getting half dressed, sprinting out the door to check the sheep or go do something, it is when it sort of falls apart. Putting the morning back together pretty quickly, and if you miss brekkie, you don't have the energy for the day as well.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's so easy not to do. It's easy just to stay in bed another hour and rush out the door. It's that discipline of just doing it. The results are going to be, because at the end of the day, a morning routine is just about, setting yourself up and putting yourself allowing yourself to be happy as soon as you start the day. Yeah. So do things that allow you to be happy. If that's reading, you know, if it's taking the dog for a walk, well, that's what it is. There is no happiness in scrolling on Facebook, though. So you can't say that'll give you happiness.
The next thing is to get the phone out of the room. I've actually, probably for the last 3 months, I haven't set an alarm, which has been unreal. The body clock's just working pretty well. Probably get up by 5:30. Obviously, getting to sleep a bit earlier helps as well. But yeah, just sort of that body clock, getting it in tone and knowing what you're doing. I run the battery, or just looking at your body battery with the watch as well. That's a pretty good way to set up your morning routine to know if you've got enough rest for the day ahead. But there's plenty we can be doing. I wanted to ask you is, you're not your farm. How'd you go about choosing this heading and why'd you choose it?
Yeah, interesting. So the heading didn't actually come till like the day before I was going to publish it.
Oh, really?
Or 2 days before. It sat with no title. I read the book a few times and I thought, well, I want to question. I don't hide from the fact that I question the reader a lot throughout the book. And I thought, well, why not start with one of the most thought-provoking lines we could ever come up with, and that was, "You are not your farm." So the idea is to provoke thought, question me as the author. I'm open to being questioned around that, and it's supposed to bring up some emotion or some curiosity, little things like that. When you read it, it's different for everyone. Some people don't like it, but good. Don't like it, but read it, because that's the idea. Get out of your comfort zone and be questioned.
And unfortunately, probably for the people that would get the most benefit out of it won't actually read it as well. It's for those sort of progressive types. We sort of need us to pass the buck on and pass the book on as well for that. Like, there's not really that many readers in ag, unless they're lying to me. A few people on the podcast say that they're not really into books or whatnot, but I think, you need to sort of question yourself. And on our sort of discovery call to find out more about the book, I was shocked at like how well written it actually was. Just going off just the farmer sort of vibes. So you did pretty well we did excellent to get a book out, self-edited as well. The only thing in there I would suggest to make it a little bit longer. Don't mind a long book. But the perfect sort of pickup for farmers, I suppose. And what you were trying to do as well, you didn't want something too in-depth. You wanted to sort of create awareness around our mindset as well.
Yeah, exactly right. So it is a short book. It's the idea of the book is you can read 10 pages over a fortnight and have it completed. So it makes it easy to come back and revisit the book, which I highly recommend you do as the reader. You might take one thing away and then in 3 or 6 months' time, pick up the book and find the next thing to implement. So it had to be short, sharp, straight to the point. And it couldn't be a book where you lost interest halfway. Like, I've read plenty of books that are that long that you lose interest halfway, even though you know that they're great books, everyone talks about them, they're highly recommended, but you do lose interest. So that was the idea. Keep it short, sharp, straight to the point, and allow yourself to be able to come back in 3 months' time, 6 months' time, and pick up some more stuff to implement into your life.
I think it's pretty good. We need a lot more of it, and especially to find out like what the top 5% of farmers are doing. Without giving too much of the book away, what are they doing? We could put we in there, hopefully, but definitely don't think so. I think there's a lot of people doing out there great work. But what are they doing? What's the sort of highlights that you can pass on?
Yeah, so that subtitle is another thought-provoking statement, I guess. and I want you to challenge me as the author on it. Like, is that right? Is that what the top 5% of farmers are actually doing? I don't know. But in my view, that's what they are doing. They're the ones that are sitting at the top. And it's not like, this isn't a book about how to grow finer wool or put more weight on your sheep or your cattle or higher yields. It's all about the person behind that farming business. And the biggest thing I found is these farmers aren't attaching themselves to their outcomes of their farm. Their farm is a vehicle which gets them to where they want to go in life.
Yep.
And it's not the means of everything. It's the same as someone having a share portfolio as their vehicle, or a property investment portfolio as their vehicle. The farm is the vehicle, and it's a tough subject to talk about because there is a lot of emotion in farms, especially family farms.
Yep.
But to pull that emotion away from decision making, because some of the best decisions in the farm are probably not what you're doing today, because there's emotion around what we did 3 generations ago, 2 generations ago, or last generation. And these farmers could put a clear line in the sand to say, yes, that's what we did 50 years ago. Doesn't align with what we need to be doing today to make this farm have the most potential it can possibly have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think trying to get the most out of our farms, emotion sort of needs to be taken out of it. It can be certainly pretty good in like showing your passion and everything for what you're doing as a farming community, as a farmer. But within those sort of day-to-day activities, I think it's pretty vital that the emotions are taken out of it. How have you sort of implemented that within your own operation, taking the emotion out of it and making sure you're going towards your true north?
Yeah, so like for my business now, like we benchmark every year, and then once a year I get put in a boardroom with 9 other sheep producing farmers. My figures, financials get put up on the board, and we go through with a fine-tooth comb everything I'm doing, why I'm doing it this way, can I get these results better? You're spending too much money here, you're not spending enough here. Really questioning it, and I come away from that meeting, and I do the same for the other 9. Like, they put theirs up and we go through it. They've got no emotional attachment to my farm. All they do is see figures on a board or on a screen, and I come away from that day, or it's a 2-day event, but I come away from that session of mine with 3 to 4 really key things that I can focus on for the next 12 months. Yeah, so I do the same for them. So they'll put their, we take in turn, so they'll put their data up on the board as well. And we go through and have an unemotional assessment of their business.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the 2-day event, I come away with 3 to 4 things that I can focus on for the next 12 months to make those, I guess it's the lowest hanging fruit. What's the 3 to 4 things I can focus on for the next 12 months that'll improve my business? And then I do that 12 months, benchmark it, bring that data back, show what I've done, and we go again.
I think it's pretty important to highlight that you said 3 to 4 things were the takeaways to go work on, not 30 to 50 things to go work on. Why is the list probably only a few things and you're not sort of end of the list going on?
Yeah, so I guess say you have 4 things for 12 months you have to complete. Well, that's 4 things on top of all your operations that you do. So break that down, you've got 1 a quarter to complete. And then break that down, you've only got 13 weeks in a quarter to be able to complete it. So you can overwhelm yourself in 12 months with so much things that's on top of your operation, on top of your 12-month operations already. So I look at it as working on your business and working in your business. So the operations day to day is in your business, whereas this stuff is on your business.
Yeah.
Yeah. So keep it simple. One thing a quarter.
Like being confronted with having to show you numbers and stuff, because I know within farmers and farming world, like it's not the easiest thing. You're putting up all your mistakes and all your successes all at once, and like hoping the shit sticks to the wall a bit better than it had the other day or something when you're yelling in the yards or something. How'd you get around that hurdle, like that bit of a personal one as well?
Yeah, look, it can be. I'm in a room with 9 other trusted farm business owners, so I know them. We can finish the day and have a beer together. Nothing leaves the room. It's Chatham House rules, so nothing leaves that room. We're all there for each other as well, so we do have that emotional side. We check in at the start. How was your season? All those type of things. Anything that's sort of holding you back. But the hurdle of that, look, it didn't worry me because the pain of being below average outweighed the pain of that hurdle, I guess.
Yeah.
So I had to just jump in. I'm keen to learn and I'm keen for anyone's feedback. So if you're in the arena with me, I'll do anything for you.
Yeah, I think it's pretty powerful getting in a room of farmers and sort of benchmarking yourself against yourself, but also what they're doing and what they know, their experiences. Is there a wide range of age group there as well? Like,
yeah, there definitely is. Yeah, yep, yeah. It'll. I would think I'm one of the youngest, and there's people there about to retire and pass down to the next generation. So, everyone's business varies and everyone's business is different, but we all have in the sheep side of things, our business KPIs are all pretty much the same. So that's red meat producing sheep business. Yep.
Beautiful. What was the biggest wow, or like the thing that you didn't think you'd come across in your sort of research? Well, you weren't researching for the book at the time, but now it is a book. What was your biggest takeaway from it all?
I guess this side of things, I didn't even know that this stuff existed. Like, I remember the first 2 years farming. At the end of that, I was so unhappy. And then, like I said, I started asking farmers. I'd never heard of this side of stuff before, and like, why isn't anyone talking about it? I never heard it growing up. I never heard it, with the people I was hanging around with. That was the biggest thing that I found. Why isn't anyone talking about it? And the people who are doing it aren't talking about it with anyone else. So,
or like, why do you see that being the case? Is because like we don't feel that like it's not getting talked about or whatever, or there's no need to. Also, being farmers, isolated, you could be close to town, but
I think if you don't ask, you don't receive. Really, like
I think you said that in the book, didn't you? Too, like about actually asking, approaching and stuff. That initial sort of getting into your benchmarking group, I think it might have been.
Yeah, yep, exactly right. And, I was just lucky enough, I asked some really good farmers at the start that gave me confidence to keep asking. Overall, the book's comprised of 250 farmers, or a bit over 250 farmers that were willing to talk to me, but, there was nearly 1,000 that probably didn't want to talk to me or didn't, weren't interested, and that's fine. Like, that doesn't worry me. The rejection's fine, but if you don't ask, you don't find out. So
that's it. Welcome to the club of farmers saying, "Oh, why me?" Like they run a perfect operation, hums along, and then you ask them. Not everyone, but like I approach them to come on the podcast, and they go, "Oh, why me? You wouldn't want me." They don't have much to say and whatnot, but yeah, it can be frustrating. But like the value in this book probably like the outside, the stuff that didn't make it into the book is probably just as valuable as well. There might be the sequel coming up.
Yeah, I couldn't overload it too much. So yeah, there are some other things that I found that didn't make the book for valued reasons as well. But
I think you got to have a cutoff. You got to have had a deadline as well. I'll tell you my I've got two favorite chapters that I really like as well. They're all pretty good. But the first one is the story that you tell yourself as well. Like if you say you can or you can't, you're probably right. I think that's probably the biggest thing and also a huge limiting factor of what I see within farming as well. Within that complacency within farming can be quite big as well. Just sort of routinely going about your production systems and doing the same thing year in, year out, all that. And I think gratitude. Gratitude was probably a word I didn't know until I started doing this podcast. Trying to be happy with what you've got and everything. COVID was probably a big thing for that for me. And also it's when I first got into books as well. But trying to be grateful for what you have here and now and utilising it to the best of your ability. You can sort of put an example of being grateful for the machinery you have and then upgrading it once you're able to and stuff like that. What was this chapter there for you? You wrote the book, but do you have a favourite there?
I really love the chapter on vulnerability. So I remember the night I finished that chapter. That was probably the moment where I said this needs to go in a book and it's going to help a lot of people. Because that action of vulnerabilities helped me so much that if you learn how to use it and learn how to use it to your advantage, it'll change the lives of so many farmers.
I think, I don't know what you think, but this is sort of directed to the blokes in ag because a lot of the wishy-washy stuff, as they say, like the women are doing in ag, and it's probably they're nudging their husbands, their partners to like come and read this book or like be a bit more vulnerable with me within business and personally as well. Is that the sort of focus for you, or like you notice that between your benchmarking group and your experiences that blokes just weren't doing this or they didn't know about it in Aussie ag?
Yeah, so I think vulnerability gets linked to the story we tell ourselves as well. Like that's why I start with that chapter of the story we tell ourselves. Like, you know, I fully understand why people don't want to be vulnerable. You probably never saw anyone in your house growing up be vulnerable. You know, like I was talking to farmers who grew up during droughts and never saw their parents show any emotion at all. So the likelihood of them showing emotion at any distressing situation in their farming business is quite minimal. So it stems from that as well. So that's probably why we don't talk about it. And the other reason I would say is the people that we are around. We mightn't fully believe that they're the right people we can be vulnerable around would be another big one.
Yeah, I think I try to encourage everyone to be a bit vulnerable, especially coming on the podcast. It's hard to open up. I've had some like cracking episodes, and when the episodes are really good, the person on the other, like in your seat right now, has been a bit vulnerable as well, and just sort of carries flow. And it's the listeners going, like you can sort of really resonate with it. And I think that's what the book sort of comes through as well. Going in and sort of like getting people to focus on being within that top 5% and stuff and getting the mindset right and everything for that, and benchmarking off the book as well for your own mindset. There's plenty of stuff to be doing within Aussie Ag, but also having that focus as well. I think the headings were pretty spot on and also in a really well ordered format.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll just touch on vulnerability one more time quickly. So the thing I learned really early on when I was learning this is a problem shared is a problem halved. Yep. So before we jumped on this podcast, we were having a chat, Jack, and you're saying, oh, it's dry up here. What's it like down where you are? You know, that's all it has to be, that start of that conversation. You know, it's dry up here. Well, how are you going with that? You know, like, you know, and you're probably sitting there, you don't want advice from me, but you want to get it off your shoulders. You want to just release that built up tension of how dry it is at the moment. You know, we haven't had rain in 3 months. You know, there's so many other people out there that are in the same boat as you, but they're just leaving it all inside because, well, if he's got the same problem or if they've got the same problem, why would they want to hear my problem? But just from sharing that, you just release it. And that's, I talk about in the book, it starts that snowball effect of trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty important as well. Like, you don't have to sit down for an hour to get all the information out or whatnot. For all your mates or for a stranger, we were pretty much strangers 2 calls ago, but like that little release of you having some struggles or whatever, or with the book and stuff, or my way of being dry or a bit too wet up here to actually get something off the farm, vitally important. And within ag, it sort of gets highlighted on a few days a year when we need these constant sort of notifications coming up to sort of check in with ourselves, check in with our mates, because it's a daily thing. And as you said in the book, health is wealth within that chapter as well. I think that was pretty important. I really think farmers are getting a little bit better with their health. Like from the early 2000s to now, how drastic it sort of changed. There's a lot of non-smokers now from smoking and stuff like that, getting each other back on track. I think it's pretty cool. Had Fat Farmers to begin the series this year, and I think like what they're doing is good in that, advocating to be sort of healthier farmers, and your book's going to healthier mindset as well, to be in that top 5%.
Yeah, exactly right. And, you know, is smoking equivalent to a large amount of stress on your body? You know, like if you're putting stress through the mind through overthinking day in, day out, you know, maybe you are better off smoking and just stop thinking. Like it might be a healthier choice. Like, yeah, just that. And I referenced it in the book, health. As soon as I start that chapter, I say, this isn't about going and buying a gym membership. You know, it's not about going and running 20 Ks a day. It's about enjoying your life, because there's no point pushing so hard to get this end goal of this ideal, successful farm if you're not there to appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might be there physically, but you won't be there mentally.
Yeah. I actually had a small win the other day. I bogged the tractor and I didn't say one swear word the whole time. And half an hour after, I was like, oh shit, I didn't even like carry on or swear or anything. I managed to get out using the bucket and then lifted the plough up and sort of skipped over. But it would have been a pain in the ass if you went fully into that sort of situation, carrying on swearing and stuff, stressing yourself out. You're more likely to get bogged walking home, and you're also 100 times more stressed within that. So that was a small win for me as well. So trying to reduce the stress on farm is probably a good thing for anyone.
Yeah, it's such a great win. And like I've been in that situation before where you carry on and swear and do all those things, but like how much energy do you exert when you do that? And as soon as you calm down, you're exhausted. Yeah. You know, the best thing you can do is just smile and go, well, it's happened. I can't do anything about it. I have to find a way to either get home or dig myself out of the bog, you know, like, and it's just that attitude towards situations. as well. Yeah.
I think, like, relating it to lamb marking, if you have a lamb and you let it go and have to pick it up twice, the amount of energy you burn is like 10 times the amount as if that lamb stayed in your grip. They tend to bounce around a fair bit. But trying to reduce that as well. And like, these are the 1%ers as well that you talk about in the book and that everyone sort of talks about. We want to be 1% better and working on the little things. 365% increase each year. Pretty cool. With these principles in mind, what does the future of farming look like? Or like, what's the future of your farm look like? Being in the top 5%?
The future of my farm. Well, I think it's just ever evolving and growing. So, we're still in the startup phase of the enterprise that we've chosen since I've come home. So, getting that up, and then once we get to full capacity, it will just be about those 1%ers year on year.
Yep.
So that's an on-farm focus, I guess, using the principles through the book. The future for that would be that it just keeps helping farmers find value and purpose in their life.
Yeah, it's like evergreen material as well, and can sort of just drop into every sort of scenario, not within the time restraints. The other thing for the book was that I was missing that I would have liked was a bit of context. Do you want to give us a bit of context on your own operation that you've come back to and that you're sort of running now, that you've got back at home?
Yeah. So that didn't make the book because I didn't think anyone would care, to be honest, Jack.
You better read your own book again then.
So it's we use Primeline, Lampro Primeline genetics. We run a higher than normal stocking rate, turn off store lambs. That's pretty much one enterprise, simple system. Keep it as simple as we can.
And your location down there is it's prime also for lamb production, isn't it?
Yeah, we're pretty lucky with our location down at Ballarat in Victoria. Yeah. Good, reliable rainfall.
So coming back into everything, writing the book and everything, over your experiences, what's the number one piece of farms advice you'd like to pass on to farmers? They might be looking to write a book like yourself, or just start to take action for their own farms, for themselves as well. What would that piece be?
I think the biggest thing is you don't know what you don't know. So, if this book scratches any little bit of curiosity, just find out. If it's something else, if it's a podcast, if it's a seminar or something like that, if it scratches a little bit of curiosity, just go and find out. Yeah,
definitely. I think we'll get to 3 events each year. Don't overdo it because you can. I actually think there's never been so many events in farming currently across Australia. That would be a good piece of advice as well. But for the book, congratulations on it. If anyone's looking for a copy themselves, I'll drop the link in the show notes. Head across to the link in this podcast, whatever platform you're listening on. Do yourself a favor, read the book, invest in yourself, just like you have with the time on this podcast as well. But the conversation doesn't stop there for what we're doing on Farms Advice Podcast. Come across to Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever platform that you find yourself on the most. We're trying to do the most that we can, get the most out of our farms and ourselves, but we want to be a little bit happier and healthier for it as well. But until next Tuesday anyway, keep on farming.